Every morning is a new beginning, a fresh page, a quiet invitation from God saying, let's start again. But how often do we wake up and immediately reach for our phones? Before our feet even touch the floor, we've already entered the noise, messages, news, stress. And then we wonder, why does the day feel heavy? Maybe we've forgotten to wake up with God. The first 10 minutes of your morning shape your entire day. Think about it. When you wake up in chaos, your mind stays in chaos. But when you wake up with peace, you carry peace wherever you go. When you start with God, just a prayer, a few grateful words, or a moment of silence, you invite heaven into your schedule. You align your heart before you face the world. There was a woman who used to say, I never have time for prayer. Her mornings were rushed, kids, work, deadlines. One day, everything started to fall apart. She felt anxious, lost, tired. So she tried something simple. She set her alarm 10 minutes earlier and whispered, God, be with me today. Weeks passed and something changed. Her problems didn't disappear, but her peace returned because she finally started her day alone. You can't use your phone all day without charging it, right? Eventually, it dies. Your spirit is the same. If you don't plug into God's presence in the morning, your energy runs out before noon. When you wake up with God, you recharge your soul. You become stronger than the storm, calmer than the chaos. Ask yourself, what's the first voice you hear each morning? Is it the voice of the world? Fear, comparison, worry? Or is it the voice of God? Peace, purpose, love? Waking up with God doesn't require perfection. It's not about long prayers or fancy words. It's simply saying, Lord, guide me today. Help me see you in everything I do. That one moment changes everything. When you wake up with God, you stop chasing blessings and start walking in them because you realize you don't need everything to go right to have a good day. You just need the right heart. Your morning becomes sacred. Your attitude becomes your prayer. And even if the day brings challenges, you face them with divine strength. Here are some key points related to this. The first moments of your morning shape the entire day. Start them with God. A short prayer or moment of gratitude can shift your mindset and invite peace. You can't run on empty. Connect to God daily like recharging your soul. Waking up with God doesn't remove problems, but gives you strength to face them. Don't chase blessings. Align with God and walk in them naturally. Begin each day intentionally, and your life will start reflecting divine order and joy. The first moments of your morning are sacred. They quietly shape the rhythm of your entire day, even before you realize it. When your eyes first open, your mind is still soft, still uncluttered, still halfway between the spirit and the world. It's like freshly fallen snow, pure, untouched, waiting for the first footprints. What you allow to step into that silence determines how your day will unfold. If the first sound you hear is gratitude, peace follows you. If the first thing you feel is worry, then the storm begins before the sun even rises. Think about the way most people wake up today. The alarm rings, a harsh, digital sound tearing through the stillness. Before a single deep breath is taken, hands reach for the phone. Within seconds, the eyes meet a screen filled with noise, messages, headlines, notifications, endless scrolls of other people's lives. In just 1 minute, the soul is flooded with comparison, pressure, fear. The mind hasn't even had time to remember it's alive, yet it's already burdened. It's as if the world barges into your room uninvited, shouting before you've even said, "Good morning, God." There's something deeply powerful about pausing in that fragile space between sleep and wakefulness, to simply breathe, to say quietly, "Thank you for another chance." That small act of awareness shifts everything. It's like placing your hand on the steering wheel before the road begins, reminding yourself who's really in control. Because if you don't take charge of your spirit in those first few moments, something else will, and usually it's chaos. Imagine 2 mornings. In one, you open your eyes, grab your phone, scroll through messages, see something stressful, and rush out of bed already behind. The tone of that day is set hurried, reactive, distracted. You're pulled by everything that demands your attention, and peace feels like something you can't afford. In the other morning, you open your eyes and whisper, "Thank you, Lord." You take a breath and feel your heartbeat steady and strong. You stretch, look toward the light filtering through the window, and realize you've been given a gift. One more sunrise, one more chance to begin again. The schedule might be the same, the responsibilities might not have changed, but you are different. You're grounded, centered, calm. And because of that, the world moves differently around you. There's a story of an old man who woke up every morning before dawn, sat by his window, and prayed in silence. When asked why he did it, he smiled and said, "Because if I meet God before I meet the world, I remember who I am." That simple truth carries the weight of wisdom. When you start your morning by meeting God, through prayer, gratitude, stillness, or reflection, you anchor your identity in something eternal before facing the temporary noise of the day. You set your internal compass toward peace, and everything that follows must align with it. Some people think they don't have time for that. My mornings are too busy. They say, I have to get the kids ready, rush to work, handle responsibilities. But that's the illusion. That peace requires more time. It doesn't. It only requires intention. Even 1 minute of sincere stillness can shift the energy of an entire day. One whispered prayer while brushing your teeth. One thought of gratitude while making your bed. One deep breath before checking your phone. These small sacred pauses are how you weave a divine into the ordinary. There's an invisible doorway between night and day, a sacred handoff between rest and action. That's where miracles often wait, not in the big moments, but in the quiet beginnings. The way you start determines how you see. A heart that begins with God sees beauty in small things. A mind that begins in chaos overlooks blessings because it's too busy searching for control. And every day is full of blessings. We just have to be awake enough to notice them. Maybe that's why the scripture says, "In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths." It's not about perfection, it's about direction. The morning is where you choose your direction. You can walk into the day guided by grace or dragged by fear. The choice is subtle, but it's everything. There was once a woman who changed her life simply by changing her mornings. She used to wake up anxious, rushing late, always reacting to problems. One day, she decided to begin differently. She lit a small candle, sat for 2 minutes in silence, and said, "God, I'm here. Led me." That 2-minute ritual became her anchor. Over time, people began to notice something. She was calmer, kinder, stronger. Nothing external had changed, yet everything felt different. That's what happens when you begin your day with divine alignment. The outer world starts to reflect the inner peace you created. So when you wake up tomorrow, remember, the first words you speak, the first thoughts you think, the first emotions you feel, they build the foundation for everything that follows. Guard those moments like sacred ground, because in those fragile minutes before the world begins, heaven is whispering. And if you listen closely, you'll hear it say, "Walk with me today, and you will not walk alone." A single moment of gratitude in the morning has the power to shift the direction of an entire day. It's incredible how something so small, a quiet prayer, a whispered thank you, or even one deep breath of appreciation, can turn confusion into clarity, fear into calm, and heaviness into hope. Yet, most people underestimate it. They think they need to fix everything before they can feel peace, but peace doesn't wait at the end of a perfect day. It begins in the first few moments, when your heart opens to God and says, "Guide me." There's something sacred about waking up and choosing to connect before the world intrudes. When you pause and offer gratitude before chaos begins, you realign your energy. You tell your spirit, "Today, I choose peace over panic." It's like setting the thermostat of your soul before the heat of life rises. Because once gratitude takes the front seat, anxiety has no space to drive. Imagine this. 2 people wake up in the same house on the same morning. One opens their eyes, sighs, and immediately starts thinking of everything that could go wrong. Bills, deadlines, unfinished work, strained relationships. They haven't even left the bed, yet their mind is already tired. The second person opens their eyes, looks out the same window, and says softly, "Thank you for another sunrise. Thank you for breath. Thank you for a chance to try again." The situations of their lives may be identical, but their spirits couldn't be more different. The first person starts their day reacting to life. The second person starts their day creating it. Gratitude in the morning doesn't acquire a perfect life. It's what makes life feel worth living even when it's not perfect. You could have pain, uncertainty, or disappointment, but still wake up and find something to thank God for. Maybe it's the sound of birds. Maybe it's the fact that you're still breathing. Maybe it's the people who love you even when you fall short. Gratitude doesn't ignore what's wrong. It simply refuses to let it define the day. There was once a man who used to wake up angry every morning. Life had not been kind to him. He had lost his job. His savings were gone, and nothing seemed to go right. Every morning he would groan, complain, and say, "Why me?" One day, an old friend visited him and said, "Try something new tomorrow. When you wake up, don't ask why life is unfair. Just say, 'Thank you for 3 things.'" The man laughed bitterly but agreed to try. The next morning, still half asleep, he muttered, "Thank you that I woke up. Thank you for my old coffee mug. Thank you for the light through my window." It didn't change the situation overnight, but it softened something in him. Days passed, and he kept going. Slowly, gratitude became a habit. And with that shift, opportunities began to reappear, not because life suddenly became easy, but because he became open. Gratitude didn't fix his world. It fixed his perspective. You see, the mind follows the heart. When your heart begins a day thankful, your mind starts looking for more reasons to be thankful. It's like putting on a different pair of glasses. Suddenly, where you used to see problems, you now see possibilities. You notice the kindness of a stranger, the laughter of a child, the simple beauty in moments you once rushed past. And that awareness builds momentum. By noon, you're calmer. By evening, you're still steady. Because that morning prayer, that little whisper of "thank you," set your foundation on peace instead of panic. Even Jesus, before performing miracles, gave thanks. Before feeding thousands, he lifted what seemed small, 5 loaves and 2 fish, and said, "Thank you, Father." And only after that did the multiplication begin. There's a hidden message there. Gratitude unlocks increase. When you bless what you already have, no matter how little it looks, it begins to grow. So when you start your day, don't underestimate the quiet power of a few words. It doesn't have to be a long prayer or a perfect speech. It can be as simple as, "God, I don't know what today holds, but I know you're with me. Thank you for this breath. Thank you for this chance." That moment of humility changes the atmosphere around you. You walk differently. You speak differently. Even when problems come, they don't shake you as deeply because your spirit is anchored in something higher. Life isn't about avoiding storms. It's about learning to carry peace within them. And gratitude is how you do it. It's how you remind yourself that you're not walking alone. It's how you silence fear before it speaks. Every thank you in the morning is like planting a seed of light that will keep blooming through the day, no matter how dark it gets. So if your mornings have felt heavy lately, if you wake up feeling lost or anxious, don't try to change the whole day. Just start with a single moment, a deep breath, a quiet thank you, a small prayer. Let that be your foundation. Because once gratitude enters the room, everything else begins to find its place. And before you know it, peace will start to feel like your natural state, not because life is easier, but because your heart has learned how to see God even in the smallest things. You can't run on empty and expect to make it through the day with peace. Just like your phone needs to be charged to function, your spirit needs to be connected to God to stay strong. Every morning, the moment you wake up, you begin to use energy, emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual. The people you meet, the challenges you face, the worries that cross your mind, they all draw power from within you. And when that inner power isn't recharged through connection with God, you slowly start to run dry. That's why so many people feel exhausted, not just by the end of the day, but sometimes by mid-morning. They're not just tired, they're spiritually drained. Think about it. If you leave your phone unplugged overnight, you know what happens. It won't last long. You can't get frustrated at the battery for dying when you didn't connect it to its source. The same principle applies to your soul. You can't expect peace, patience, and strength if you haven't spent time with the one who gives them. We often go about our days reacting to life instead of being renewed by it, wondering why we feel weak, why our emotions are all over the place, why small things trigger us so deeply. It's because we've forgotten to charge before the day begins. There's a story about a man who worked long, tiring days. Every night he came home angry, frustrated, snapping at his family. He told his pastor, "I don't know what's wrong with me. I pray sometimes, I try to do good, but I just feel empty all the time." The pastor smiled and said, "You're not empty because you're bad. You're empty because you're disconnected. You can't pour out love, peace, or joy when you haven't filled yourself with them first." The next morning, the man decided to change something simple. Before touching his phone, before talking to anyone, he sat quietly and said, "God, fill me with your peace." That was it. No long prayer, no fancy ritual, just a small moment connection. But that day, when things went wrong at work, he didn't explode. When someone spoke harshly to him, he stayed calm, because now he was running on divine strength, not his own. We all have a choice each morning, to start our day plugged into the world or plugged into God. The world drains you. God restores you. When you scroll social media, your mind fills with comparison. When you check the news, your spirit fills with fear. But when you sit in stillness, breathe deeply, and talk to God, even for a minute, your soul fills with peace. You start to move differently. You begin to respond instead of react. You become the calm in the middle of chaos. It's interesting how we'll never let our phone battery drop below 10%, but we'll let our spirit hit zero. We rush to charge devices that cost a few $100s, but forget to charge a soul that carries infinite value. Imagine if we treated our inner life with the same urgency. Pausing to reconnect the moment we feel drained, checking in throughout the day to make sure our signal is still strong. That's what spiritual connection is. Not religion, not routine, but relationship. It's staying aware of the source that sustains you. When you wake up with God, you align yourself with peace before the world tests it. You fill your heart with light before darkness has a chance to creep in. You remind yourself that you are not facing life alone. And that reminder becomes your armor. Because let's be honest, no one escapes challenges. The difference between those who crumble and those who rise isn't how easy their lives are, but how connected they stay to their source. I remember hearing a woman say, "When I skip my morning prayer, I feel it all day. My patience is shorter, my stress is higher, and I start to feel lost." But when she takes that time to connect, even if only for a few minutes, she notices something different, a quiet strength, a sense of calm that follows her wherever she goes. That's what it means to recharge your spirit. It's not about avoiding problems. It's about carrying peace through them. Even Jesus often withdrew to quiet places to pray before facing the crowds. He understood the importance of spiritual renewal. He didn't wait until he was overwhelmed to connect. He started his day with connection so that when the storms came, his peace remained unshaken. That's the pattern we're meant to follow. To draw strength not from our own willpower, but from his presence. So when you open your eyes each morning, think of it as your daily recharge. Take a moment to say, "God, I'm here. Fill me with your strength today." You might not feel an instant rush of energy, but something begins to shift inside. Your focus clears, your worries quiet down, your heart steadies. And as the day unfolds, you'll find yourself handling things that once felt impossible with a grace that surprises even you. The truth is, life will always try to drain you, through people, through pressure, through problems. But when you're plugged into God, you never truly run out. You carry within you an endless current of peace, strength, and purpose. And when that happens, you stop chasing calm from the world because you realize you've already found it in him. Waking up with God doesn't mean the day will be free of problems. It means you'll have the strength to face them with peace. Many people misunderstand faith, thinking that if they pray in the morning or start their day with God, everything should go smoothly. But life doesn't work that way. God never promised an easy road. He promised to walk beside us on it. The purpose of prayer isn't to remove every challenge. It's to prepare your heart to meet those challenges with grace. Imagine a sailor setting out to sea. Before the journey begins, he checks his compass, secures the sails, and studies the wind. He can't control the waves, but he can prepare for them. That's what waking up with God does. It centers your spirit before the waves rise, because the waves will rise. There will be rude people, unexpected problems, disappointments, and delays. But when your morning begins in peace, those things no longer have the power to break you. There's a story about a woman who started every day with a simple prayer: God, walk with me. One morning, everything seemed to go wrong. Her car broke down. She was late for work. Her boss was frustrated, and by noon she felt like the world was against her. But instead of crumbling, she whispered under her breath, God, you're still here. Later that day, someone she barely knew offered her a ride home. On the way, they had a deep conversation about life and faith that left both of them in tears. What seemed like an awful day became a moment of unexpected connection, all because she carried her morning prayer into her afternoon storm. That's the quiet power of waking up with God. It doesn't guarantee a perfect day. It guarantees a stronger you. When you start the morning in His presence, you're no longer reacting from fear. You're responding from faith. You stop saying, why is this happening to me? And start saying, what is this trying to teach me? The same situation can either break you or build you, depending on how you began your day. Sometimes we expect peace to come after the chaos settles, but peace is meant to be carried through the chaos. That's why Jesus slept through the storm while everyone else panicked. Not because the sea was calm, but because His heart was. The peace within Him was stronger than the storm around Him. When you wake up with God, you begin to carry that same peace. You still feel the wind, you still see the waves, but something inside you whispers, I know who's in the boat with me. I remember hearing someone say, when I used to start my day in a rush, even small problems felt massive. But when I began praying each morning, even big problems felt smaller. That's not magic, that's spiritual alignment. Prayer doesn't always change what happens, but it changes how you experience what happens. You stop being a victim of the day and start being a vessel for grace. There are mornings when you'll wake up and feel heavy, when prayer feels like just words, when peace seems distant. Those are the moments that matter most, because faith isn't proven when everything is easy. It's proven when you trust even when nothing makes sense. Saying, God, I'm still choosing you today, on a hard morning is one of the strongest declarations of faith you can make. Life will always have noise, deadlines, stress, disappointments. But when your heart starts a day rooted in God, you can move through that noise with quiet strength. You don't lose your peace every time someone upsets you. You don't fall apart every time something goes wrong. Because your stability doesn't depend on circumstances anymore. It depends on connection. And maybe that's the real secret to a blessed day. Not a day without struggle, but a day where you remember who's walking beside you through every struggle. When you wake up with God, the storms may still come, but they can't sink you, because your peace isn't on the surface. It's anchored deep within your soul. When you wake up with God, something powerful begins to shift inside you. You stop chasing blessings and start walking in them. Most people spend their lives running after peace, success, or happiness, as if these things are hiding somewhere far away. They chase goals, people, and possessions, hoping that once they finally reach them, they'll feel fulfilled. But the truth is, the blessings we chase are already near us. We just can't see them when our hearts are out of alignment. When you begin your day connected to God, you don't need to go searching for favor. You begin to live in it. It's not about attracting more. It's about awakening to what's already there. Think of a person running through a dark forest with flashlight turned off, tripping and stumbling, searching for a way out. The path is already there, but without light, they can't see it. That's how life feels when you move without God. You might be working hard, trying everything, chasing every opportunity, yet still feeling lost. But the moment you wake up and say, God, guide me, it's like the flashlight turns on, the same forest, the same path, but now there's clarity. You begin to see the blessings that were always there, the people who support you, the doors that were waiting to open once your spirit was ready. There's a story of a man who prayed every day for success. He worked hard, dreamed big, but nothing seemed to work out. One morning, instead of asking for more, he simply said, God, thank you for what I already have. That day his perspective changed. He noticed how much he had overlooked, the skills he developed, the relationships that kept him grounded, the small victories that were leading him somewhere. Within months, his circumstances began to shift, not because God suddenly blessed him, but because he finally began to walk in the blessings that had been surrounding him all along. Gratitude opened his eyes to abundance. When you chase blessings, you often end up exhausted because you're moving from lack, from a belief that something's missing. But when you walk with God, you move from fullness, from a quiet knowing that everything you need will meet you on the path meant for you. The chase ends when you realize you were never behind. You were just out of alignment with peace. Even in Scripture, we see this truth. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Notice the word, follow. You don't have to run after goodness. It follows you when you're walking in faith. When your heart is tuned to God in the morning, you start carrying a presence that draws blessings naturally. You stop begging for doors to open and start trusting that the right ones will. Because when you're in step with God, the path you walk becomes blessed simply because you're walking it with Him. I once met a woman who told me, I used to pray for success every day, but now I pray for alignment. That struck me deeply. She explained that when she prayed for success, she was focused on outcomes. But when she prayed for alignment, she was focused on presence, on walking closely with God. Over time, she found that the more she stayed aligned, the more opportunities flowed naturally. It wasn't luck, it was grace in motion. She had stopped forcing life and started flowing with it. That's the quiet miracle of starting your day with God. You move from striving to surrendering, from chasing to attracting, from worrying to trusting. You begin to notice how even delays carry purpose, how detours become protection, how silence can be preparation. You realize that God's blessings aren't always loud or immediate. Sometimes they come disguised as peace in the middle of uncertainty. So many people spend years asking, when will my breakthrough come? But maybe the breakthrough begins the moment you stop running after it. The moment you say, God, I trust your timing. Lead me and I'll follow. When you start your day that way, you no longer have to chase what's meant for you. It finds you where you stand. Because blessings don't come from striving. They flow through alignment. And the closer you walk with God, the more naturally they appear, not as rewards or effort, but as a gentle overflow of divine order working through your life. Every day begins with choice, not in the noise of the world, but in the quiet of your own heart. Before the day unfolds, before anyone speaks to you, before the phone buzzes with notifications, there's a small sacred moment where your soul decides what kind of day it will be. Most people don't even notice it. They wake up and fall straight into motion, rushing, worrying, reacting. But those who pause, even for a breath, and begin their morning with intention, discover that the way they start the day shapes everything that follows. A day started with peace tends to stay peaceful. A day started with chaos rarely finds its way back to calm. There's a soft strength in beginning each day with God. It's not about long prayers or rigid routines. It's about setting the tone. It's about saying, I will not let the world decide my mood today. I will choose my spirit before I face the world. That simple act of alignment transforms ordinary days into sacred experiences. It's like tuning an instrument before the music begins. If you start out of tune, everything that follows sounds off, no matter how hard you try to fix it later. But when you begin with stillness, with gratitude, with presence, your day plays in harmony. I once met a teacher who told me something profound. She said, I used to wake up dreading the day. My mind would immediately start racing, lesson plans, noisy students, responsibilities. Then one morning, I decided to change the first 5 minutes. I sat on the edge of my bed and said, God, thank you for this day. Whatever happens, help me carry peace into every room I enter. That one change shifted her entire life. She said that even on the hardest days, something within her stayed calm. The students were still noisy, the challenges still real, but her reaction was different. She had taken control of her inner world before the outer world could touch it. The first few moments after waking are powerful because your mind is clear and your spirit is open. It's a doorway between rest and reality, a perfect moment to plant the seeds of your intention. If you fill that space with gratitude and faith, the day grows from it like a tree rooted in good soil. But if you fill it with fear, worry, or distraction, the roots twist and tangle before the sun even rises. That's why it's so important to claim your mornings as your own. Don't hand them to the world. Dedicate them to the one who gave you the gift of another sunrise. Imagine if every morning you treated your soul like a canvas. The first colors you paint on it, your thoughts, your emotions, your prayers, decide what the picture of your day will look like. You can paint anxiety or peace, resentment or gratitude, chaos or order. And whatever you begin with has a way of expanding. A single thankful thought in the morning can ripple into patience, kindness, and clarity throughout the day. Likewise, a single negative thought can grow into frustration that touches everything you do. The difference lies in those quiet, unseen choices made before the world demands your attention. There's an old saying that goes, if you want to change your life, change your mornings. It's true. Every transformation begins at the start of the day, in that moment where you decide who you're going to be. When you wake up with God, you give your day a direction before it begins. You tell the universe, peace will lead me today. And once peace takes the lead, everything else follows in order. Problems still arise, but they no longer control you. People may test your patience, but they can't steal your joy. You begin to live from the inside out, instead of the outside in. So as you open your eyes each morning, remember that you are the keeper of your first thoughts. Guard them, shape them, offer them to God, because the way you begin is the way you continue. And a day that begins with gratitude, prayer, and awareness will almost always end with peace. Every sunrise is a new invitation to live with intention, to walk with God, and let the light you start your day with carry you all the way through the night. Every sunrise is a new invitation from God, a gentle whisper saying, try again, begin again, walk with me again. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to take that first sacred step to wake up with faith instead of fear, with gratitude instead of worry, with peace instead of panic. Because how you begin determines how you rise. Wake up with God before you wake up to the world. Wake up with gratitude before you wake up to pressure. Wake up with peace before life tests your patience. Wake up with purpose before the noise steals your focus. Do it tomorrow. Do it every morning. And watch how the ordinary becomes divine. The same streets will look different. The same problems will feel lighter. The same life will suddenly glow with meaning. Not because it changed, but because you did. Don't wait for peace to arrive at the end of the day. Invite it at the beginning. Don't chase blessings, walk in them. Don't ask, what will today bring? Ask instead, who will I be as I walk through today? The secret to a blessed day isn't in your schedule. It's in your surrender. So when the sun rises tomorrow, before anything else, whisper 3 simple words that can transform your life. God, I'm here. Your support means everything. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe, because when you wake up with God, you never walk through the day alone. Thank you for being here. See you in the next one.